My best friend broke up with her boyfriend and dragged me to a bar for an all-nighter. The twist, she ended up sober, and I was the one who got drunk. The next day, the sober one reconciled with her boyfriend. Meanwhile, I, half awake and half dreaming, stared at the young boy lying in the same bed as me and began to question my entire existence. Gritting my teeth, I fumbled under the duvet, my voice trembling with disbelief and frustration as I spoke to the person on the phone. Are you sure I said something like that? Yep, Yara's voice on the line was full of gleeful teasing. You were the one who made the bold claim, saying you wanted to keep him. The poor boy thought about it for a full 10 minutes, before reluctantly agreeing. Everyone nearby heard you. I held my forehead in despair. Then, why? Didn't you stop me? Bloody hell. Chelsea, Yara retorted, sounding exasperated. Have you no conscience? I'd have stopped you if I could. You latched onto him like a blind cat stumbling on a dead mouse. Not even for horses could have pulled you back. Her voice continued chattering on the phone, but a buzzing filled my ears as fragmented memory slowly trickled back. I really had drunk far too much yesterday. But that person who tried to lift someone's clothes with a bottle in hand, the one who leaned in and shouted, "Hey, let's see those abs," the one who publicly teased a young boy until he was flushed, and then deliberately spilled drink all over him because he would take his clothes off. That couldn't have been me, could it? Surely not. Surely not? I usually have good control over my drinking. I never let myself get completely legless in public. Maybe yesterday, there were just too many annoyances. Plus I didn't realize a particular drink had such a strong kick. But even so, surely not to that extent. It couldn't be, could it? Could it? My head was still fuzzy, but I suddenly felt something slowly moving closer against my back, followed by a clearly still drowsy, slightly hoarse, and deliberately drawn-out murmur. Miss Chelsea, a shiver ran through me that I hung up the phone and flung it away. In fact, I lost control of my strength and the poor phone hit the floor with a smack, skidding half a meter until it bumped into a piece of clothing lying there for some reason. Forcing myself to stay calm, I inched forward imperceptibly, unaware that my words were trembling. You move back a bit. Let's talk properly. He was obedient and perceptive. He just nuzzled my shoulder reluctantly before sitting up, almost like he was acting coquettishly. It reminded me inexplicably of those golden retrievers in short videos that wag their tails and rub against their owners when they hear walkies. I took a deep breath and muttered silently to myself, "Bloody hell." My fingers trembled as I reached for the piece of clothing nearest to me. Before my quivering fingers could even touch it, the boy had already moved in front of me and obediently handed it to me. I was startled and instinctively looked up at him. This was the first time I properly looked at him. To be honest, he was quite good looking. Fair and clean, exactly my type. His lips were pressed together lightly, his nose bridge high and straight. There was a small mole near the corner of his eye. His pupils were a beautiful amber color, his eyelashes were long, and the way he looked at me was both obedient and pure. Then there were those clearly defined abdominal muscles and those long, straight legs. Both his face and his physique could be considered top tier, even based on my extensive experience of seeing all sorts. No wonder I picked him out from the crowd last night, and no wonder there was still my lipstick mark on his neck. Of course, it would have been even better if he sorted out his own state of undress before handing me my clothes. I averted my gaze, trying hard to ignore certain things I shouldn't be looking at. I pretended to be calm as I took the clothes from him, adding, "Thank you." He got dressed faster than I did, but he seemed quite well-mannered, standing with his back to me without turning around. I took the opportunity to quickly put my clothes on while giving him a once-over. Judging by his clothes, his family circumstances probably weren't bad either, although it was just an ordinary hoodie and tracksuit bottoms, and the brand was an inch one. As a fashion designer, I could still tell that outfit didn't come cheap. The tips of his ears were still a bit red dotted. Seemed he wasn't very experienced either, probably not a player. How had someone like him ended up in this situation? Maybe he was also swayed by looks and just wanted to have a bit of fun with me. I slowly finished getting dressed. I hadn't figured out what attitude to adopt towards him yet. After weighing my words for a long time, I finally blushed and managed to ask, "How much did I promise you yesterday?" He turned around, startled, his beautiful eyes blinking as if thinking for a moment before replying innocently, "Miss Chelsea, 2,000 a month is enough for me." This time, I couldn't help but look him up and down again. Even after trying hard to calm down, I couldn't suppress the tremor in my voice. 2,000. The young man took a small step forward. "Miss Chelsea, I'm not expensive to keep, if necessary. I could manage on 1,000 as for me." Faced with this self-promoting behavior, my mind was fixated on a completely different question. Am I really that stingy? Me, Chelsea, who just won the most prestigious fashion design award in the country the year before last, a top designer with an annual income approaching 8 figures, in a bar with a high average spend. I boldly claimed I would keep someone like this for 2,000 a month. Or how about 500? 500 is fine too. He was still earnestly trying to justify himself, continuously lowering his price. "Miss Chelsea, I can cook, I can clean, I can warm the bed. I'll do anything Miss Chelsea says. I'm very healthy." I raised a hand to stop his self-introduction. "Mate, please stop talking. If you keep going, I really might be tempted. Are you from some company?" I rubbed my temples, roughly guessing his background. It wasn't like I hadn't encountered situations like this before. After winning the award, my designs became highly sought after, which also attracted many people trying to curry favor. However, I'd always kept my personal life clean. This was the first time I'd fallen into the trap of good looks. Oh well, judging by his physique and looks and based on my hazy memories from last night, it wasn't exactly a bad deal. If he wanted something, or if the people who sent him to me had some ulterior motive, I'd just go along with it. Thinking this, the guilt in my heart began to dissipate bit by bit. However, the person in front of me looked at me blankly and asked dully, "What company?" Half an hour later, I finally faced this reality. Chelsea, had taken a fancy to a stranger in a bar whom I'd never heard of and never met before, proposed a keeping arrangement to him and had it accepted. Looking at the love breakfast he had carefully prepared on the dining table, I wished I could travel back to yesterday and knock out my drunk self with a brick. "What's your name? How old are you? Are you even an adult?" I took a sip of juice to calm down before organizing my thoughts and asking him. "Ronnie, 21 years old, a third-year university student." He paused, glanced at me cautiously, and then hesitantly added, "Miss Chelsea, I study at the Imperial Conservatory of Music." The Imperial Conservatory of Music? My eating movements halted and my words carried a hidden meaning. "Then your family circumstances should be quite good. Last year, something happened at home. We went bankrupt." I was taken aback. "Then the clothes were bought before. And yesterday, a friend took me to have fun yesterday. I don't usually go to bars, Miss Chelsea." His eyes sparkled as he looked at me, actually seeming a bit aggrieved. "The family has debts, and I can't even pay the tuition fees." My friend said this was a quick way to make money, so I had no choice but to sell yourself. I put down my chopsticks, speechless. "Why don't you tell me what kind of debt your family has that $2,000 a month could pay off?" "Miss Chelsea, the $2,000 is for living expenses. The debts, I have to pay them off myself. How could I let Miss Chelsea pay for them?" He looked even more wronged. "Miss Chelsea, I'll graduate in a year. I won't be a burden to Miss Chelsea." Brilliant. Father's bankruptcy, family debt, never been to a bar before. The first time he goes, he meets me on my once-in-a-century drunken night, and his asking price is pitifully low. It was a flawless reason, but I felt something was off. It seemed a bit too much of a coincidence. But the thing is, I was the one who approached him first. "How much does your family owe?" I had a headache and simply didn't want to think too much about it. Adopting a quick resolution attitude, I asked directly, "I was drunk last night, but I'm not going to take advantage of you. Name your price, as long as it's not outrageous. Once we leave this house, we'll act like we never met." After a long time, Ronnie's voice sounded cautious and full of grievance. "But Miss Chelsea," the light in his eyes dimmed considerably, and he looked at me as if I were a heartless cad. "You promised yesterday you'd provide food and lodging." I took another deep breath. When my gaze swept over the red marks on his neck, I felt considerably more guilty. Finally, I picked up my phone and struggled to tap on the cracked screen. "I'll go find a place for you right now." Ronnie said he didn't want to live in the dormitory. I couldn't be bothered to ask for specifics. My only desire was to resolve this mess as quickly as possible. The Imperial Conservatory of Music is a famous music institution. Although the tuition is expensive, it has produced plenty of real talent. The entry requirements are strict and professional, and my dad is one of the professors there. But there was probably no need to mention this to a casual acquaintance like this young man, and I didn't dare disturb my father over such a matter. Otherwise, he'd investigate thoroughly. And once he found out I'd done something like corrupting one of the nation's promising youths, he'd definitely drag me by the ear and give me a proper telling off. Finding a place for Ronnie to stay for a while wasn't difficult. I sent out the message in the morning and had a response by the afternoon. I called my driver and ruthlessly kicked him out of my home. As Ronnie stood at the doorway, twisting his fingers, he seemed doubtful about my attitude. "Will Miss Chelsea come to see me?" Playing a mobile game? I firmly denied it. "No." Afraid he might try to cling on, I quickly added, "I'm very busy. Off you go." The young man looked like he wanted to say something else, his eyes flicking towards my phone screen where the game was clearly displayed. I didn't even look up, my fingers indeed very busy. "Close the door behind you, asterisk bang dot asterisk." The door shut. The sound was quite loud, enough to show how unhappy the other party was. I let out a long, somewhat lost sigh, muttering to myself, "A man's charms lead one astray. A man's charms lead one astray." If he had stayed a few seconds longer, I was afraid I really wouldn't have been able to resist pouncing on him again. Oh well, it was just a casual encounter. Both parties were willing, and however you looked at it, I probably didn't owe him anything. I thought I'd forget about this incident quickly. After all, in my daily work, I'm constantly in contact with male models with top-tier bodies. As Yara says, I've seen more handsome men than she's eaten grains of salt, and it's not like I ever get overly thirsty or wide-eyed. But these past few days, I seem to keep thinking about Ronnie. While sketching, the male physique I was constructing in my mind somehow morphed into Ronnie's form. Even the lines flowing from my pen became smoother than in previous days, no longer stiff but vivid and lively. I'd even started imagining what this garment would look like on Ronnie. And in the quiet of the night, the largest part occupying my thoughts also became Ronnie from that night. The one with fine sweat on his hairline, gently biting his lip, flushed from his ears down to his neck. "So? You've fallen for him?" Yara lay on the bed next to mine at the beauty salon, her tone full of gossipy excitement. Although I don't want to admit it, I shrugged. It seems so, for now. "Ha ha 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 ha. That's hilarious," Yara burst out laughing, so hard the face mask on her cheek was about to fall off. I could even feel the bed next to me shaking as she gleefully mocked me. "You, a strong, independent woman who has severed all emotional ties and could practically become a nun. If she shaved her head, having a day like this? Ha 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 ha." I was furious, though of course I was angry at my own lack of resolve. I was the one who kicked him out, and now I'm the one who can't forget him. Admitting it was truly embarrassing. "Stop laughing," I said, kicking a foot in her direction through gritted teeth. "Come with me to the bar tonight." "What for?" Yara was still laughing. "Could it be that Yuri's so unwilling to let go that Yuri going back to try and run into him?" I coldly lifted the face mask off my cheek, expressionless, to drown my sorrows. "Hey, actually, it's probably just that you've had a taste and can't quite rein yourself in yet." Yara nudged my shoulder lightly with her glass. "Anyway, aren't you participating in that menswear design competition? It's not without its benefits to spend more time with him. Why did you send him away? It's not like it's a loss." I swirled the liquid in my glass and downed it in one go. "Forget it." I denied without a second thought. "Not interested." The spicy liquid burned all the way down my esophagus, setting a small flame flickering in my heart. As it danced, I heard Yara's cautious question. "Chelsea, you're not still hung up on Yan, are you?" My hand, holding the glass, paused for a moment, but I quickly adjusted. "What's he got to do with it?" I retorted. "I just think the term kept is really unpleasant. Ronnie is a decent young lad. Having such an ugly label attached to him, how will he establish himself in the future?" "That's true," Yara nodded. After a moment, she added in a low voice, "But with his looks, if he really went down that path, there'd probably be plenty of women wanting to keep him. And you just let him go." "He wouldn't," I immediately denied, though I wasn't sure what I was so anxious about. "He doesn't seem like that type, and there's no need for him to go through that method again. But he's a child from a wealthy family after all. After such a big upheaval at home, how could he just switch to living frugally overnight?" Yara continued her rational analysis. "If it were me, sleeping with a woman once could get me that much money, well, it'd be hard to say I wouldn't go looking for a second sponsor. Human inertia and dependency are too hard to control." After she finished speaking, I was stunned for a long moment. Thought it took me a while to hear my own stammering rebuttal. "He probably wouldn't, right? I get the feeling Ronnie isn't." Yara laughed again. "What? After knowing him for just one day and night, you understand him that well?" I was left speechless and could only drink another glass. In all fairness, she was right. At her level, we see many things clearly. Those who look innocent on the outside might be wilder than anyone else, especially since I met him in a bar, a place teeming with players. Thinking of this, I felt even more depressed. Just then, Yara's boyfriend called again, and she had to find a quiet place to take the call. I sat there somewhat dazedly, just pouring glass after glass down. Ronnie, someone like him, if he really ended up as Yara described, how tragic would that be? I couldn't help but have another drink. Just as I was getting dizzy, someone suddenly approached, standing politely beside me. The luxury watch on his wrist reflected a dim light in the subdued lighting. "Chelsea, fancy a drink?" A pickup attempt. This wasn't uncommon in bars, but here at 7, a bar with a high average spend, it rarely happened, especially someone trying to pick me up. The people who come here are either rich or influential, all figures with reputations to consider. They have to mind public perception or maintain their personal image. They can't be as casual as in ordinary bars. Besides, the whole situation with Yan had caused quite a stir. Who would be so tactless as to actively hit on me? I looked over coldly, giving him a once-over. My eyes icy. "Sorry, I don't drink with people I don't know." The man seemed to smile, not leaving despite my attitude, and simply sat down next to me on his own accord. "Then we can get acquainted." "Hello." He extended a hand towards me. "My name is..." He didn't even get to say his name before he vanished from my field of vision, replaced by a sporty hoodie carrying the scent of laundry soap. My muddled mind took a few seconds to react before I sluggishly looked up. Ronnie had unceremoniously positioned himself between me and the man, looking at me with an innocent and raw expression, his nice thin lips pressed into a straight line, the small mole at the corner of his eye seeming pitiful. "Miss Chelsea." He called my name in an act coquettishly-like tone. I must be drunk again, I thought to myself, quickly downing another glass and turning my face away to stare blankly at Yara's empty seat. I must be drunk again to be seeing someone who absolutely shouldn't be here. That glass went down hard, making my already fuzzy head even dizzier. I intended to rest my head on the table for a bit, to soothe the drunkenness crashing around in my mind. But who would have thought that everything after that I'd forgotten clean again? Another bright morning. Another daze to me and a gleefully gloating Yara on the phone. Another Ronnie lying fast asleep beside me for a moment, brainwashed by TV dramas. I thought I'd entered a time loop, until I saw the date on my phone, clearly showing it was a new day. According to Yara, she had just finished her call and returned. She was still 10 steps away from me when she saw me pounce on the man like a starving tiger, clinging to his neck, refusing to let go. A picture of being utterly smitten, cheek to cheek, inseparable. "Oh, That man was naturally the Ronnie now lying next to me, because even now, there was a shallow cut on his lower lip. He seemed utterly exhausted, still not awake, sleeping quietly beside me, his breathing even and long, one arm draped over my waist. The boy's fresh, clean scent of laundry soap invaded every breath. I shifted uncomfortably, but the soreness all over my body made me stop all movement. I took a deep breath, resisting the urge to stare at Ronnie, but I couldn't stop myself from thinking about last night. My toes curled, and intense fragments flashed through my mind. Ronnie, he. After running through various descriptions in my head, in the end, I could only inadequately sum it up as young people. Sure have stamina. About 7 or 8 minutes later, the person beside me slowly woke up. By then, I was still immersed in the regret of what stupid thing did I do last night. It wasn't until the person next to me, drowsy and confused, snuggled closer, nuzzling me, that I snapped out of it. I thought again of those golden retrievers that wag their tails and are incredibly clingy. The boy's morning voice, all hoarse, sounded right by my ear, accompanied by a muddled mumble. "Miss Chelsea smells so nice." My face flushed a bit. In the end, I didn't push him away, just pretended to be aloof and asked, "Why were you there yesterday?" He finally opened his eyes, seeming a bit more awake, and responded wearily, "I miss Miss Chelsea so. I thought I'd try my luck there." Who knew as soon as I arrived I'd see Miss Chelsea chatting so happily with some older man. Ronnie secretly tightened his arms around me. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady and calm. Yar's words from yesterday kept echoing in my mind. I wrestled with it internally several times, but in the end I yielded to my heart. Once might be an accident, but twice is no coincidence. I took a deep breath and, as if guided by some unseen force, asked him, "Do you still want to be with me?" He seemed stunned for a second, but soon his eyes sparkled, as if an invisible tail was wagging furiously behind him. He nodded repeatedly. "Yes. Let me be clear. This isn't called being kept. It's an equal exchange, a mutually beneficial relationship where both parties get what they need, understand?" I stared into his eyes, emphasizing seriously, "If one day you want to end this relationship, just tell me anytime." Ronnie was still nodding excitedly, the smile at the corners of his lips never fading. I stared at that shallow cut on the corner of his mouth for a long moment, then suddenly reached out, pulled his neck down, and without another word kissed him. By the time we finished this time, it was almost noon. It was the first time I'd been with him in a state of absolute sobriety, and the sense of satisfaction was multiplied. I lay wearily in bed, listening to the sounds of him bustling in the kitchen, and suddenly thought, marrying someone like him wouldn't be so bad, but maybe it would be a bit unfair to him. Supporting my aching back, I sat up. When I walked towards the bedroom and saw his infectious smile, I couldn't help but smile too. "Don't you have classes?" I leaned against the kitchen doorframe, watching him stir-fry with practiced skill, feeling more and more that I had found a gem. "I have one this afternoon," he replied. "I'll have to leave after lunch, Miss Chelsea." I made a sound of acknowledgement and, since he had his back to me, simply let myself stare at the smooth lines of his body, lost in thought. "Miss Chelsea," Ronnie suddenly turned around, catching me in the act of staring. Seeing my focused gaze, he lifted the corners of his mouth happily. "Miss Chelsea, can I move in here?" Feeling guilty, I turned away and mumbled, "Up to you." Asters that very afternoon, before it was even dark, Ronnie showed up at my door, knocking with his large and small bags in tow. I was still holding an Apple Pencil, my hair hastily tied up, seeing his 2 large suitcases. I couldn't help but feel a headache coming on. To be honest, I hadn't figured out where he would sleep yet. Due to the nature of my work, every room in the house had a specific purpose: study, wardrobe, bedroom. When I decorated, I never even considered leaving a guest room. Even when my parents visited occasionally, they never stayed over, suddenly having an extra person. I really didn't know where to put him for the moment. Seeing me frown, the smile immediately faded from Ronnie's face. He asked me cautiously, "Miss Chelsea, do I have too much stuff?" "No." I shook my head helplessly. "Come in." I couldn't very well let him sleep on the floor, so I had no choice but to let him share my room. When he found out he could be with me every day, Ronnie seemed overjoyed, the corners of his mouth practically reaching his ears. Of course, I didn't have much time to spend on him. The XG fashion design competition was in 3 months. Only by winning this award could I take a step onto the international stage. There was no room for carelessness. Normally, the initial draft should have been finalized by now. The processing and customization of the garments also required time, but perhaps my standards for myself were too high. I had revised 4 or 5 versions and was still unsatisfied. The work under my pen now lacked the spark it had when I first entered this industry. Back then, all my designs were based on Yan as a prototype. So, the longer we were broken up, the fuzzier those lines in my mind became. It wasn't that I hadn't thought about finding someone to replace him, but it was too difficult. I'd seen all the famous male models in the industry, but not one could replace the muse in my mind. Inspiration itself is a mysterious thing. No one can control it, you can only attribute it to luck. Although I was reluctant to admit it after breaking up with Yan, I hadn't been a particularly lucky person. When Ronnie stepped into the study carrying a plate of fruit, I was grabbing my hair, staring blankly at a completed garment design on the tablet. It was so strange I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I just knew this wasn't the effect I wanted. The lines of the garment were smooth and natural, yet for some reason, I felt something wasn't quite right. And this was already the 6th time I'd scrapped it and started over. I wasn't afraid of the trouble. I was afraid I might run out of time. Ronnie carefully placed a plate of cherries on an empty spot on the desk. I looked up. Staring at the screen for so long had made my eyes blurry. I rubbed them and saw Ronnie. That strange feeling intensified. "Come here," I called out to Ronnie, who was about to sneak away quietly. I covered my eyes and sighed. "Come here and take a look for me." So he obediently came over. I pushed the tablet towards him. The wireframe on it was a bit messy, and I didn't really expect him to see anything. "Does anything feel off to you?" I'd asked Tara the same question no less than 100 times, but she wasn't in the industry after all. Every time, she'd just say things like "it's very nice, very beautiful," words of praise. I knew she was trying her best, but it just wasn't what I was looking for. Ronnie frowned, staring at what was on my tablet for a very, very long time. So long that I couldn't help but straighten up, starting to hope he might actually have an answer. "It's very nice, really." His voice sounded a bit muffled. But what?" My eyes lit up and my ears practically perked up. "But it feels like something doesn't quite match." Ronnie gestured a few times with his hand. "Miss Chelsea, don't you think it seems a bit incongruous?" He scratched his head. "I can't say exactly what's incongruous, but it just feels that way." Incongruous, I suddenly understood. Wasn't that exactly it? The cut and overall structure of this garment were drawn before I met Ronnie. But all those intricate embellishments, the detailed patterns, and all the modifications were made after I met him. Naturally, the initial design was still based on Yan as a prototype. But afterwards, the person wearing this garment in my mind became Ronnie. The two of them were naturally incongruous. Finally, having my problem pinpointed, I sprang up from my chair, decisively dragged the finished design into the recycle bin, and created a new blank page. "You can go out now," I said without looking up. "If you're tired, sleep first. Don't wait for me." And by the time I put down my pen, it was already 2 a.m. But it wasn't that I didn't want to draw anymore. It was that my memory was getting fuzzy again. After all, I hadn't known Ronnie for very long, and many details weren't fully formed. I didn't want this hard-won inspiration to just vanish. After thinking it over left and right, I picked up my tablet, phone, and a pen, tiptoed into the bedroom. Ronnie was indeed already asleep, having left a bedside lamp on for me. The dim, hazy light was perfect for observing him without waking him. I climbed onto the bed like a thief, put down my things, and the first thing I did was reach to undo his pajamas. He was sleeping on his back, which conveniently allowed for my mischief. I carefully unbuttoned his pajama top and used my hand as a ruler to measure his waist, the distance from his shoulder to his hip. I was busy scribbling rough measurements on the tablet, regretting not bringing a tape measure, when Ronnie suddenly let out a soft groan. I was startled, not even understanding why I felt so guilty. I turned off the tablet and froze, not daring to move, even holding my breath, lying there like a thief caught in the act. "Miss Chelsea," Ronnie's voice was full of grievance, thick with the nasal tone of someone just woken up. He complained to me in a wrong tone. "You're squashing me." I was taken aback, only then realizing what my elbow had been resting on. My face instantly turned bright red. Are you okay?" "I didn't mean to. It's fine." Ronnie still had that captivating, aggrieved tone, as if he was acting coquettishly. "It won't hurt if Miss Chelsea rubs it for me." I froze on the spot, my hands hovering in midair, unsure whether to rub or not. Until Ronnie gave a light chuckle, grabbed my wrist and started pulling it downward. "Since Miss Chelsea has been measuring for so long, why not measure this here too?" Ronnie held onto me, refusing to let go. I tried to resist, but resisting led to yielding under the temptation of hormones. I didn't even have time to ask when he had noticed me measuring and sizing him up. Waking up the next morning, all the data I wanted to remember from last night was completely forgotten. After all that effort, I hadn't managed to measure anything properly. Instead, Ronnie had spent the night physically demonstrating that you don't need a ruler to take measurement. A man's charms lead one astray. A man's charms lead one astray. Ronnie left me a note saying he had an early class today. The breakfast he made was still on the table. I should heat it up if it got cold. His thoughtfulness made me feel quite embarrassed, and I was the one who called it an equal exchange. Even a future husband would be hard-pressed to be half as good as him. With Ronnie not around, I spent a long time trying to sketch the right lines on my tablet, but got nowhere. I simply gave up on the futile effort, tossed the tablet aside, and decided to wait until he came back to make any progress. But before Ronnie returned, I received an unexpected phone call. "Chelsea, it's Yan. Let's meet." Actually, Yan and I never officially broke up. It was just that one day, he deleted all my contact information and vanished from my world without any warning. Yan was my university classmate. After graduation, he became a model and, with my help, carved out a place for himself in the domestic fashion industry. He also became known to the world thanks to an outfit I designed, when I'd spent countless days and nights on, pouring my heart and soul into it, which he wore on the runway. But then he just suddenly, quietly withdrew from my life, leaving no reason, no farewell. I only found out later, from others, that he had given up everything he'd achieved in the fashion world, his reputation, his glory, including me, and left with a famous film star. He never looked back. I knew Yan was never content with just being a model. He aspired to develop in the film industry more than the fashion world, and in that regard, I truly couldn't help him at all. I knew all this, but I never thought he could be so heartless. Back then, I refused to believe Yan was the kind of person to abandon feelings for the sake of career advancement. I searched for him everywhere, using all my contacts and resources like a lovesick fool, trying to get in touch with him. But the only answer I got was a cold "he's unavailable" from his assistant. Of course, a few months later, when I saw that familiar figure on screen, I understood why he was unavailable. Over what happened with him, I spent months drowning my sorrows in bars, resenting Yan for leaving without a word, resenting him even more for his deception. Until one day I had a sudden awakening and let go of him completely. I never waste time on people who aren't worth it. Even years later, when he had become a list star in the country, I never contacted him again. But the moment his call came through, I realized I wasn't as resilient as I thought. Yan's invitation left me unsettled for the next few days, sapping my enthusiasm for drawing. Perhaps seeing I was down, Ronnie tried every way to cheer me up, accompanying me shopping and making me delicious food. But none of it could combat the faint unease lurking in my heart. Ronnie, probably at his wit's end, came home from class one afternoon and rushed over to me excitedly, hugging me from behind, nuzzling my neck affectionately, and asked, "Miss Chelsea, do you want to go watch a ball game?" I didn't really want to go at first, but I couldn't withstand his relentless pestering. Thinking that I wasn't making any progress on my sketches at home anyway, going out for a change might not be a bad idea. So I agreed in a moment of weakness. The Imperial Conservatory of Music isn't particularly known for its sports prowess, but it has young people full of vitality and pretty faces. As you can imagine, such a place is teeming with handsome boys and beautiful girls. Watching a group of good-looking boys play ball is indeed pleasing to the eye. But sitting there, I found myself mostly reminiscing about my own university days. As the saying goes, you won't be young forever, but there will always be young people. The people around me were cheering and applauding, while I watched the most dazzling young man on the court, watching the dappled sunlight fall on his profile, watching him leap up and send the ball through the hoop, and watching him smile at me with sparkling eyes. The young man's intense gaze cut straight through the layers of people towards me. His sweat-dampened fringe fell in loose strands. The moment he lifted the corners of his mouth, I suddenly thought, spending a lifetime with him might not be a bad choice either. During the halftime break, the cheerleaders performed in the middle of the court. Ronnie pushed past the crowd of girls surrounding him and walked over to sit next to me. Without a second thought, his voice loud and clear. "Miss Chelsea, was I amazing just now?" He startled me. I quickly covered his mouth. The strange looks from the young girls around us made me very uncomfortable. I pulled down my baseball cap and whispered to him, "Keep your voice down." Ronnie said, "Oh," then continued in a somewhat aggrieved, lower tone, "Miss Chelsea, wasn't I amazing just now? I scored several goals." Before I could answer, I saw a group of lads walking towards Ronnie, chatting and laughing, carrying water. When they saw me, their voices boomed even louder than Ronnie's. A group of lads with imposing momentum greeting me in unison, "Hello, Miss Chelsea." I waved awkwardly in polite acknowledgement, maintaining a standard smile. Sitting there professionally, without saying a word, the young lads were quite familiar. After bantering with Ronnie a few times, they surrounded me and sat in a circle. The surrounding seats were squeezed with no gaps left. The wave of male hormones that hit me nearly knocked me over. Ronnie sat next to me, holding my hand tightly, refusing to let go. They were chatting about the ball game. I only half understood the technical terms. Sitting there was boring, so I succumbed to professional habit, secretly assessing this group's style and physiques. When I looked at one of them, Ronnie suddenly covered my eyes. The boys burst into laughter, accompanied by teasing like, "What? Are you jealous, oh-ho? Getting sour now?" and a bunch of whistling and noise. My face flushed a little. I gently pulled Ronnie's wrist away and could only manage to words, "Stop messing around." The tallest among the boys laughed and asked, "Miss Chelsea, tell us, who has the best physique among us?" I glanced at Ronnie's somewhat sour, almost pouting expression and found it quite amusing. So I answered, "Naturally, it's Ronnie." The boys laughed. Ronnie's ears turned bright red. He didn't even dare look at me. But the one who asked first pressed further, "What about besides him?" He grinned. "How about me, Miss Chelsea?" As soon as he said this, I sensed something keenly. I have to say, the kid's acting was still clumsy. I saw right through it. I've seen plenty of people who are so eager to be a kept man. I gently scratched Ronnie's palm, pretending not to notice his tense leg from nervousness, and answered with a natural expression. "The physique isn't bad, but it's a pity. It seems the gastrointestinal tract isn't great." The kid became interested. "How so, if the gastrointestinal tract isn't good? One can only eat soft food. Such a person appears strong on the outside, but is weak inside. Eager for quick success. Hardly here just to play ball, are you?" So that person looked somewhat displeased, probably because his pride was hurt. His voice even dropped a bit. Then Ronnie's gastrointestinal tract is good. I raised an eyebrow slightly with a faint smile. "Who told you Ronnie is someone who eats soft food?" I've always been very good at protecting my own, fortunately. There weren't many among those lads with ulterior motives. Once I made my stance that clear, some perceptive voice steered the conversation elsewhere. Only Ronnie couldn't suppress the little delight in his heart, putting on a sour expression to whisper in my ear, "Has Miss Chelsea always dealt with others like this before? Quite experienced, huh?" I smiled and poked a certain spot on his lower back, making him bite his lip and stiffen. I calmly let my gaze sweep over a certain area. "So, shouldn't you be a bit more nervous? Be careful. Or one day I might bring someone else home." Ronnie huffed indignantly. Before heading back onto the court, he leaned close to my ear again. "Miss Chelsea, don't worry, I'll definitely be properly nervous." Ronnie kept his word. In the end that day, I was nervous to the point of exhaustion, nearly falling asleep. I even heard him murmuring softly by my ear, filled with contented joy. "Miss Chelsea is so good to me." I was too tired to open my eyes, lastly nestling in his arms. Unable to distinguish when or how I had been good to him, I just mumbled, "How dare I not be good to you?" Ronnie held me and chuckled softly. When he finished laughing, he called my name again in a low voice. "Miss Chelsea, I like you so much." I responded with a drowsy mm. "Miss Chelsea, I wrote a song for you." Ronnie pressed close to my ear, holding me tightly in his arms. "Do you want to hear it?" I gave another drowsy mm. And so I heard the boy's slightly magnetic voice softly rise in the quiet of the night. The gentle, clean melody was filled with tenderness, 7 parts affection, 3 parts joy, quietly floating in the pitch-black room, accompanied by the cool, mild summer breeze and the young man's faint scent of laundry soap. In that moment, even my heartbeat became the rhythm. I thought about it for a long time, but eventually went to meet Yan. A month after he called me, I put on meticulous makeup and dressed as dazzlingly as I could. I wasn't going to reconcile with him, but to show him how well I was doing. Between him and me, we needed this conversation for a clean break. It was afternoon when I left. Ronnie was humming a little tune while preparing dinner. He seemed particularly happy today. Seeing me about to go out, he came trotting over cheerfully like a wagging tail. "Where's Miss Chelsea going?" Since that ball game, he had become even more clingy, frequently sprinkling words like and such. I was almost accustomed to being coaxed by him like this, and I was happy about it too. Looking at the batter on his hands, I couldn't help but smile. But after hesitating for a long time, I still didn't tell him the truth. "Just going to a meeting." Ronnie scrutinized me from head to toe with a critical gaze, pouting resentfully. "Miss Chelsea is lying. You wouldn't dress this nicely for a meeting." He bit his lip, asking me as if facing a great enemy, "Are you going to the bar again?" I found it somewhat amusing that even he was trying to keep tabs on me now. I could only deal with it helplessly. "I'm not going to the bar." Seeing he didn't believe me, I added, "Don't worry. I really won't go. I'll be a dog if I'm lying to you." Only then did Ronnie's expression clear up, his gaze lingering on me again, sticky and warm. "All right then, Miss Chelsea. Remember to come back for dinner." "Okay," I agreed, glanced at the time and stopped lingering, putting on my shoes and leaving. The place Yan chose was a cafe with excellent privacy, a separate small booth that blocked out all human noise and any potential cameras. After not seeing him for years, he was still the same as before, just with a touch more maturity between his brows, adding a bit more charm. He was already there when I arrived. Seeing me, he gave a faint, bitter smile. "Sorry about the identity complications, making you come all this way." I calmly pulled out the chair opposite him and sat down, also smiling lightly. A big star, of course, deserves special treatment. "Chelsea, I'm engaged to her." This was what Yan finally said, after I interrupted his reminiscing for the 3rd time. I lowered my gaze, feeling inexplicably irritated for some reason, but didn't show it on my face. I just gently stirred the white foam floating on my coffee with a spoon. "So, congratulations." We had been talking in circles for almost 2 hours, mostly him talking and me listening. But I didn't want to waste any more time with him. There was someone waiting for me at home. "Chelsea, He held his head as if in great pain, his eyes reddening as he looked at me. "You know, I never wanted to. Back then it was also actually, I never liked her, never your intention. Always only wanted to be with me." I let out a scornful laugh. "Yan, are you trying to have an affair? Or do you want to take me on as your mistress?" "No, that's not it." He seemed even more pained. I had never seen him like this before, but I also never forgot that times have changed and people are different. He was now a big star with superb acting skills. "Chelsea, I never meant to leave you." He held his head in great distress, a sight that wrenched one's heart. "I know you definitely won't forgive me, but I'm really not that kind of person. I never used you as a stepping stone, never wanted to be a kept man, you know me. I've always been a man of principle, and my feelings for you were genuine." I was growing impatient, unable to stand his incessant chatter any longer, and afraid that if I listened further, it might truly shake the softest part of my heart. I picked up my bag, stood up, and prepared to leave directly. "Chelsea." He suddenly stood up and grabbed my wrist tightly. Back then, I was drink driving and killed her brother. My steps to leave halted involuntarily. I know it was my fault, but I was so scared. "Chelsea, I couldn't go to prison. My life would be over, my dreams, my career, everything. I just couldn't go to prison." My mind was fogged by alcohol, but Chelsea. The only condition she agreed to a private settlement was for me to be with her. It was only much later that I found out that brother was her father's illegitimate child. She desperately wanted him gone. But by then, it was too late. She had leverage over me. I had no way out. Chelsea. Chelsea, I never liked her. I've always loved you. She wouldn't allow me to contact you. I really had no choice. A few hours later, I sat dazedly in a bar, my mind somewhat sluggishly pondering this question. If I were involved in an accidental drink-driving incident where I killed someone, and at that moment faced with a balance, on one side a prison sentence and shattered dreams, on the other my body and a bright future, what would I choose? Most importantly, even if it meant offering my body, it would be to someone with decent looks and figure who could also give me a push on the path I wanted. Thinking about it this way, Yen's choice was understandable. I wouldn't make the same choice as him, but I could understand his decision. In fact, if he hadn't already found someone new, if Ronnie hadn't already seeped into my life beforehand, and he came seeking my forgiveness, and to get back together was such a reason, it wasn't certain that I would definitely refuse. After all, we had genuinely loved each other for 3 to 5 years. His sudden, silent departure had always been the biggest knot in my heart. I didn't know what emotion I should be feeling now. I only knew I desperately needed some alcohol to numb myself, to paralyse my overloaded nerves. I inevitably recalled too much, scene after scene with Yen. And those days we struggled together in the fashion industry. What was Yen to me if not my youth itself? I drank a lot. There had been too many vexing things lately. I clearly hadn't been dead drunk for a long time. Yet these past few days, I found myself getting wasted at the bar again and again. When thoroughly drunk, I wanted to vent. After throwing out 3 times, my mind was already quite unclear. I grabbed onto someone indiscriminately, and seeing his face wasn't bad. I tried to throw myself at him, but for some reason I was pulled back. Someone who looked extremely like Yen appeared in front of me, half dragging, half holding me, coaxing me. I threw a tantrum, acted up, laughed and cried hysterically. Then, I let go of all the restraints binding my heart, and once again, I forgot everything completely. Having memory blackouts from drinking is truly annoying. Waking up with a hangover, my head felt like it was splitting open, and my throat was terribly hoarse. But the room was dead silent. It took me 5 minutes to realize this was my own home. I was lying in my own bed, wearing neat loungewear. The sheets and duvet cover were new, carrying a clean, pleasant laundry soap smell. I was somewhat stunned, looking at the men's toiletries on the bedside table. It took me a long moment to remember there was a Ronnie in the house. Just as I thought of him, the door gently opened. I froze, looking at Ronnie with dark circles under his eyes. He walked over silently and poured me a glass of water. He looked like he hadn't slept all night, his complexion haggard. The bloodshot eyes made his gaze less clear than usual, and there was even some short stubble on his chin. The atmosphere was eerily quiet, recalling the promise I made him before leaving yesterday. I couldn't help but feel guilty. I didn't dare look at him, staring carefully at the water as I explained. I really didn't plan to go to the bar yesterday. Ronnie remained silent. He wasn't even looking at me, just keeping his eyes downcast, his expression both desolate and lonely. I'm not a talkative person, and in my life, I never need to initiate conversation to warm up the atmosphere. When with Yara, she's the one talking and I listen. It's been the same with Ronnie. So now, racking my brains, I couldn't think of anything to say. I could only stare quietly at the water in my glass. Miss Chelsea, do you know? Ronnie suddenly spoke after a long silence. His voice was soft as a wisp of cloud. I suddenly felt a powerless sense of being unable to hold onto something. But I could only listen quietly as he spoke. When I was 7, my dad and mom were getting a divorce. Neither of them wanted me because, for each of them, I was a burden. So that year on my birthday, my mom asked me what I wanted. I said I wanted mom and dad never to separate, because if they didn't separate, I could still have a home. But mom told me that if I was good enough, they wouldn't divorce Dad, so I tried desperately to be good. I learned to mop and sweep, learned to wash dishes and cook, did my best to get the best grades. I made myself very, very good, but they still got divorced. I was very sad. I asked my uncle why. My uncle told me it was because mom and dad had no heart. Because if someone has a heart, they never break their promises. I remembered those words for a long time, and it was precisely because of those words that I didn't become someone suspicious who trusts no one. But Miss Chelsea, you broke your promise. I pursed my lips, feeling ashamed. I hadn't thought this matter would hit him so hard. I remembered receiving his call before I started drinking, but because I was so upset, I turned my phone off, although I didn't want to admit it. At that time, I was indeed thinking, it's just not going back for a meal. It's nothing much. I'm sorry. I Miss Chelsea, let me finish. Ronnie interrupted me bluntly. I made a cake yesterday because it was my birthday, Ronnie said quietly, as if without a trace of depression. I didn't tell Miss Chelsea because I didn't want Miss Chelsea to prepare a gift for me. I am not a child anymore who has to ask others for birthday presents. But I never thought the gift Miss Chelsea prepared for me was to bring another man home. I was speechless. It wasn't surprising that Yen knew where I lived. He didn't know about Ronnie, but he knew about Yara. But I never expected him to bring me home, and I never imagined things would take such a dramatic turn. Miss Chelsea was sick all over herself. Yesterday, I didn't want to let him in. But Miss Chelsea was so drunk, was it because of him? Uncle said people with hearts don't break promises. I think it's not that Miss Chelsea has no heart, but that your heart is all with him. Ronnie looked up at me, his beautiful eyes filled with complex emotions. Since Miss Chelsea likes him so much, why are you willing to keep me? Does Miss Chelsea really only see me as a bedmate? Or a fuck buddy? As if finding it hard to say, the words Ronnie uttered were laden with weariness and heaviness. I felt inexplicably flustered, and his question forced me to face myself again. That equal exchange relationship I spoke of back then, did it really differ from the so-called long-term bedmate relationship? But I never once saw Ronnie as just a bedmate. In fact, compared to the term bedmate, the word partner was more fitting. In less than a month, he had silently integrated into my life, becoming a habit. But I hadn't thought about truly making him my partner. It wasn't an irresponsible player mentality, but a subconscious feeling that we weren't quite matched. Just like that initial design draft I discarded. When the entire garment, from material to structure to style, doesn't belong to the same tone, it should never be presented as a final version. And now, facing the boy's serious question, I could no longer ignore those issues I had deliberately overlooked before. Do I like Yan? I did. Even our separation wasn't due to dislike. I spent so long letting go of a person, choosing to forget all the joy and sorrow he brought me. But when he returned, all those forgotten things surged back into my mind. But it definitely wasn't the emotion called like anymore. Perhaps I never truly forgot Yan. Like the vague physique in my mind when sketching. Or like the memories of my own youth when I watched Ronnie's ball game. The mark Yan left on my life was too deep. So no matter how much I tried to erase those marks, they still left traces. But I also knew very clearly that those traces were not the same as liking. It's like the sugar-coated hawthorn I loved eating as a child. But when I grew up, I could never taste the same flavor again. There's a faint unwillingness, sighs, regrets, perhaps even a bit of lingering attachment. But there's no echo, not a hint of heart-pounding excitement. But Ronnie does. Gentle, clean, not as dazzling as the blazing sun, not as cold as the moonlight. He stands there, and he is the embodiment of heart-pounding excitement itself. What girl wouldn't like a boy like that? I went to the bar again. The bartender's grin stretched to his eyebrows when he saw me. I suppose I contributed significantly to their KPI this month. Yara sat beside me, sighing and emphasizing a fact. Heart-pounding excitement isn't a constant either. When you first got together with Yan, wasn't it also because of heart-pounding excitement? But as time slowly passes, even the strongest palpitations will gradually have their edges worn smooth. You can't promise to maintain this feeling of throbbing excitement in your heart for a lifetime. Yara, deservedly an experienced hand at love, always saw things more thoroughly than I did. So, are you advising me to get back with Yan? I took a calm sip of my drink. But he's already engaged. His engagement banquet with Mev dominated the hot searches for 3 whole days. And I'm quite sure I won't and don't want to rekindle that old flame. Yara seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, then looked confused again. Then what is there to hesitate about? With options A and B, if you've ruled out A, doesn't that only leave B? Or are you hesitating about finding a C? No. I shook my head gently. I feel that Yan's words made me pick up something I had put down completely again. And starting a new relationship without completely letting go of the previous one is disrespectful to the new one. Ronnie and I probably really do need some time to cool off. Yara narrowed her eyes and thought for a long time, then made a hissing sound. Are you criticizing me for seamlessly moving on? Not at all, I said helplessly. This is just my own view on relationships. Matters of principle don't have right or wrong answers. I'm not as carefree as you. I always need a bit of time. Yara reminded me, well, try not to let this bit of time drag on too long. Someone like Ronnie is like a kite with many strings attached. The moment you let go, others will immediately hook onto him. I fell silent for a long time, thinking again of those young, vibrant cheerleaders from the Imperial Conservatory at that ball game. Ronnie's things were still at my place, but he refused to stay with me anymore. He took some essentials and moved back to the flat I'd rented for him initially, under the pretext of giving each other space. And I, too, returned to my work of sketching day and night. The new initial draft was basically finalized. Everyone at the studio took a look and said my muse had returned. I just smiled, faintly feeling something was still missing. Yan didn't contact me again. I suppose he didn't have time to. He just sent me messages whenever he had a moment, which I ruthlessly blocked. It's almost time, I thought. Once I no longer think of this person at random times, I can go find Ronnie with a clear heart and mind. A month later, the initial draft was finally finalized after the 3rd to 7th revision. The studio started working overtime to produce a garment. My job was half done. Next, I just needed to supervise the garment's processing, find a model who could carry its essence, and everything would be set, waiting for the judges' scores. With the work done, I felt much more relaxed. And the first thing I thought of was to find Ronnie. The conflict between us wasn't minor. The things he left at my place were gradually taken away by him during his repeated visits. I teased him, saying if he wanted to see me, he should just say so directly. But he'd just get all huffy and never come again. I owed him an apology, not just for breaking my promise on his birthday, but for everything during this time. Thinking about it, I had the driver make a detour to a cake shop. I picked out a light green cake and headed to the Imperial Conservatory of Music. Fresh, clean, minty, just like Ronnie. I knew which program and class Ronnie was in, and I had his current timetable. I just never expected that the teacher for that lesson would be someone I knew. Because of my dad, I know quite a few of the teachers at the Imperial Conservatory. But forgive my limited memory. I really can't remember all their various messy professional course names, even for my dad. I only know he teaches composition theory, but I don't know the full name of his course either. So when I sneakily peeked in through the back door during the break, I was caught red-handed by the old professor who often comes to my house to drink tea with my dad, Chelsea. The old professor called out to me, who was preparing to make a quick escape. In front of the whole class, smiling brightly, I froze stiffly, took several deep breaths, managed my expression, which probably looked more like a grimace than a smile, and slowly waved at these future stars of the music world. Hi. The old professor was very enthusiastic. I knew this very well. I remember back in my university days, this old professor hinted at me many times, both openly and subtly, to go home with him as his daughter-in-law. If my dad hadn't stopped him, I probably wouldn't have encountered that whole mess with Yan. And now, facing a room full of strange looks, I calmly and composedly found Ronnie's seat and politely asked the boy sitting next to him, who was in a daze, "Excuse me, could you move in a bit?" The boy's eyes never left me, his face still showing shock beyond measure. He scrambled to move 3 seats inward. I calmly pushed Ronnie to the seat the boy had just vacated, and plopped myself down in Ronnie's seat. The room fell into complete silence. The old professor looked at me smilingly, then glanced at Ronnie beside me. After sighing a few times, he said, "I thought you were here to see your father, but it turns out you're here to see a little boyfriend. That old devil, your dad, didn't even tell me." Finally, the professor announced loudly, "This is Wesley's daughter. You should call her Shiji." I couldn't stand this socially awkward situation any longer. Maintaining a standard. Polite smile on my face. "Leo, please just continue your lecture. I'm just sitting in for a bit." Ronnie's ears were burning red. He listened to that lesson with unprecedented attentiveness, not even daring to glance at me. Daughters from my hand, which I waved idly in front of him out of boredom. He gripped it tightly, not giving me any chance to mess about. Even after class ended, the red on his ears hadn't faded, especially since the old professor made a point of saying goodbye to him as he left. Ronnie's ears were still blazing red. I reached out and pinched them. The feel was quite nice. So I pinched them again. Ronnie looked like he was about to cry as he pulled my hand down. "Miss Chelsea," I stopped teasing him, stood up and smoothed down the hair on his head. "Let's go." "Boyfriend?" Well, now it wasn't just his ears, even his neck turned red. "Come on," I called to him. Seeing he wasn't moving, I couldn't help but pause, suddenly thinking of another question. I sat back down seriously and asked him in a low voice, "I'm serious, and I'm not forcing you. You have the right to choose. If there's a girl you like, just pretend I never came. Everything from before. Let's just pretend it never happened." Ronnie was so angry he could barely speak, his face turning even redder. "Never happened? Who do I like? Can't Miss Chelsea tell? I've told Miss Chelsea I like you so many times, and every time I meant it. But Miss Chelsea is only being serious about it now. You like me?" I smiled lightly. Seeing the people around had mostly dispersed, I simply decided to act like a hooligan. "I don't believe it. Kiss me." Ronnie's gaze flitted nervously around the remaining people. He even stamped his foot lightly in frustration before, in a fluster of exasperation, gave a quick moist sound as he kissed my cheek. The movement was so swift I didn't even have time to catch the scent of the laundry soap I liked on him. The kid was shy, so I didn't push him further. The fact that he was so easy to coax made me feel even more relieved, and my mood improved even more. "I got you a cake as an apology for that day." But Ronnie still didn't move. I found it strange, so I let go of his hand, waiting for him to speak. Ronnie hemmed and hawed, struggling for a long time before finally blurting out, "Miss Chelsea, I have another class soon." "Oh, I had checked the timetable. There did seem to be another class I'd genuinely forgotten. But back in my university days, skipping class was practically a habit. So when I came, I naturally overlooked his later schedule. But it didn't matter. I could just go with him." However, when he found out I intended to follow him, he panicked even more. Just as I started wondering if there was some girl he fancied in that class, Ronnie called out to me again, full of grievance, almost pleading, "Miss Chelsea, it's Wesley's class, good grief." So it was my dad. "What are you panicking for?" I laughed at him. "I'm not even panicking. Since we were seriously dating properly, if my parents would find out sooner or later, especially after seeing that old professor, I knew I couldn't escape my dad's notice, rather than letting him find out from someone else. It was better I came clean myself. Ronnie had good qualities, and was a good student. What was there to panic about? "It's not the same." Ronnie held my hand, looking pitiful. "Miss Chelsea, just wait a little while. I'll go ask the professor for leave. Just 10 minutes, no. Just 5 minutes. I naturally couldn't force him to skip class to accompany a slacker like me. I could only tell him to pay attention in class. While I went to wait at a cafe near the campus, bored, I looked at the fresh cake in front of me, feeling happier the more I looked at it. Maybe being in love really does improve your mood. University classes last 2 hours, and with my dad's tendency to ramble on, Ronnie would probably be a while longer. Just as I was bored, scrolling through the recently released movies, and wondering if I should lure him to the cinema later, Someone suddenly sat down opposite me. Even though he wore a mask, sunglasses, and a hat, covering himself completely, I recognized the newcomer at a glance. The last person I wanted to see, Yan again. My first reaction was to check the time, estimating that Ronnie wouldn't be out yet. Then I quickly scanned my surroundings, afraid there might be cameras that could distort the truth. After ensuring it was a safe environment to talk, my face turned cold. What are you doing here? How did you even find this place? Yan slowly took off his mask. His eyes seemed filled with an emotion called sorrow, so thick it was like an impenetrable fog. He called my name with a bitter smile. Chelsea, I didn't want to engage with him. Chelsea, when did we become enemies? His voice was low, his fingers slightly curled, and he looked deeply upset. But since I'd chosen to let go completely, I wouldn't create trouble for myself. I spoke coldly, we're not enemies, but we should be strangers. Yan opened his lips, staring fixedly at me for a long time, yet couldn't say anything. I didn't want to stay with him too long, afraid Ronnie might see us by some coincidence and strain our hard-won improved relationship. I decided to lay things out clearly once and for all. Yan, in my book, ended means ended. There's no change of heart, no rekindling of old flames, no piecing broken mirrors back together. I said each word clearly and seriously, my face stern. Since you're engaged, you should live your own life well, not try to pick up the pieces of what you shattered with your own hands. Yan was silent for a long time. He stiffly twisted the engagement ring on his ring finger, his fingertips trembling slightly. You're already with him, aren't you? I'm Chelsea. I thought you kicked him out. I thought you weren't together. That's why I came to find you. Chelsea, do you really like him? Who I'm with, who I like or dislike, has nothing to do with you anymore, Yan. I glanced at my watch anxiously. As the time for Ronnie's class to end approached, I grew more nervous, began seemed possessed. Or perhaps the harsh reality had left his mind somewhat unhinged. He stared blankly at the fresh cake on the table and suddenly said, You once made me a cake with your own hands back then. He smiled faintly, then lowered his gaze. The cream wasn't even spread smoothly, the inside was burnt, and even the happy birthday written on top was all crooked. But I've never had a cake that delicious since. Chelsea, I really regret it so much. These were Yan's final words to me before he left. I didn't even understand what his purpose in coming was. He asked a bunch of meaningless questions and hypocritically reminisced about the past. But whatever his goal was, I wouldn't let him disturb my life again. Perhaps my expression was somewhat unpleasant, because when Ronnie excitedly ran over to me, his first question was, Miss Chelsea, are you okay? I touched my slightly stiff lips and smiled lightly, reaching for his hand. I'm fine, I replied lightly. Do you want to eat here or go home? Ronnie had quite a few objections to the color of the cake, saying green was unlucky. I knew exactly what was bothering him, but it only took a few words. I smiled, kissed the corner of his mouth, and that was enough to coax him. After eating the cake, Ronnie took me for a stroll around the campus. He was like a child showing off his prized possession to a parent, pointing out building after building and explaining them to me. Unaware that I had already been through this place countless times with my dad when I was little. The Imperial Conservatory campus is beautiful. Clusters of bellflowers competed in bloom along the paths like scattered stars, making everything poetic. Ronnie picked up a bellflower blown off by the wind and blushing, tucked it behind my ear. The clean, fresh scent of the bellflower wafted faintly from my ear. As if Ronnie was kissing it, he led me to a secluded spot, his expression calm and composed. But how could I not see through that youthful anticipation? I let him have his way, especially since his ears were still tinged with red. When the sounds of people faded, and we were surrounded only by lush greenery and specks of white, Ronnie slowly turned and embraced me. His head had just begun to lower when I rose on my toes to meet him. We eagerly fell into each other's arms, quickly becoming inseparable. It was an intimate, lingering kiss, the sound of my heart pounding through my breathing into disarray. Ronnie held my waist, cradled the back of my head, his expression as reverent as if kissing his most treasured possession. In a daze, I seemed to see Yan's face, drained of color, but the next second, my thoughts were stolen by the warmth before me, leaving only the name Ronnie rising and falling in my mind. When the kiss ended, Ronnie held me for a long time, waiting for our breathing to steady. He chuckled softly near my ear. Did Miss Chelsea like that? After a pause, he added cautiously, Do you like me? I smiled, rose on my toes again to kiss his cheek. I looked into his eyes at the reflection of myself in them, slowly took his hand and placed it over my still wildly beating heart. Gently, I replied, I like you. In the end, that day, Ronnie took me to a practice room at his university. Since it was late, the room was quiet and empty. He pulled me onto the bench with him, facing the black and white keys. For a moment, I felt a sense of unreality. Because of my father, I learned various instruments as a child, mostly under duress. But what left the deepest impression was this very piano. Using his professional convenience, my father often brought me here. I was so young then that my memories are somewhat hazy, but I clearly remember his students taking turns teaching me to play. Although my piano skills ended up abysmal, this piano was still full of memories. What is Miss Chelsea thinking about? Ronnie asked me cautiously, his eyes sparkling as if expecting something from me. Nothing much, I said vaguely. Why did you insist on Bringing me here? The light in Ronnie's eyes dimmed slightly, and he looked regretful, seeing my puzzled gaze. He asked dejectedly, "Does Miss Chelsea not like music?" I was taken aback. It's not that I don't like it. It's just that I have no talent for it and can't really discern much. In that regard, I probably take after my mother. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been so easily won over by my dad with a simple melody. No, Miss Chelsea. Ronnie looked at me seriously. You can understand. I'll play for you. The sky had darkened, stars sparsely dotting the night, but moonlight streamed through the clouds, spilling onto the floor like gentle water. Ronnie and I, as if by unspoken agreement, didn't turn on the lights. Ronnie sat in the moonlight, before the ancient piano, his fingers lightly dancing, sending crisp notes jumping from his fingertips. I sat on the floor, listening quietly. I truly couldn't discern much, but I knew the song was beautiful. I seemed to see the girl hidden behind the melody, the emotion named heart-pounding excitement. Combined with the fitting moonlight and the fitting person, everything felt so gentle. He had sung this melody to me before on a similarly mild summer night. He said the song was written for me, though I was far from as wonderful as the song. I must say, a boy who can play the piano certainly has his charm. I sat there quietly, my gaze uncontrollably fixed on Ronnie. I heard my own clear heartbeat, and it was only at that moment that I belatedly realized a serious problem I seemed to have. Truly, genuinely, fallen for someone. It wasn't the unthinking like in response to the young man's question, nor the strong desire for hormones after a long period of solitude. It was genuine heart-pounding excitement, a rare emotion in my 26 years of life, an emotion beyond my own control. This is good too, I thought to myself with a slight smile. I never thought about hiding my relationship with Ronnie. So even everyone at the studio knew clearly that I was nourished by love, but strangely my dad never called me and my mom never mentioned visiting. Though puzzled, I figured they were probably busy and didn't ask further after all. I wasn't exactly free either. With the competition approaching, I needed to pay more attention to the garment processing. So I was running to the studio every other day, sometimes working late into the night. By the time I got home, Ronnie was often already asleep, but this wouldn't be the norm. Once the competition was over, I'd naturally have more free time. By then, Ronnie should be on summer break, and we'd have plenty of time together. Thinking this, I didn't find it too bad. On the contrary, Ronnie often brought various fruits, pastries, bubble tea, and such to my studio, being very considerate. It made even Yara tease me about being completely wrapped around a younger man's finger. However, I'm ultimately not that lucky. Even the happiness having placed in my hands could be silently snatched away again. That day was a perfectly ordinary evening. I returned home late after work as usual, thinking Ronnie would already be asleep. But when I opened the bedroom door, I saw a floor littered with beer bottles and Ronnie curled up in the corner. The lights weren't even on. I felt inexplicably panicked, frowning. I turned on the light. Looking at Ronnie again, I saw his red-rimmed eyes. He looked haggard. I didn't understand how he could have let himself get into such a state in just one day. The bloodshot eyes were even somewhat frightening, staring at me unblinkingly, a half-empty beer bottle beside him. Suppressing the unease in my heart, I frowned and stepped closer. What's wrong? I crouched down, trying to take the bottle from him. Why drink so much? Ronnie didn't make a sound, only letting me take the bottle, his eyes still fixed on me. Watching my every move, Miss Chelsea. He suddenly called out. Do you really like me? I paused. Though I didn't understand what was happening, I affirmed firmly, I do. But he just smiled, seemingly resigned and self-mocking. Then, Miss Chelsea, do you like me more? Or yeah, more? My tidying movement slowly stopped. Did he say something to you? I asked, frowning. He wouldn't bring out this person for no reason. He knew about my past with Yan, but he was never the type to make a reasonable fuss. It must be Yan. What had he done now? No. Ronnie shook his head, but his next question left me speechless with surprise. He stared at me intently, the grievance in his voice almost overflowing. Miss Chelsea, are you only with me to help him? But he's already engaged. Why does Miss Chelsea still need to help him? Miss Chelsea says she likes me. Is this what that liking is? I didn't know Miss Chelsea's liking was so cheap. I had never seen Ronnie look so helpless before. Word by word, it felt like heart-wrenching agony. Each character scraping finally over my heart, leaving mark after mark. But I felt equally helpless. This sudden, unjust accusation left me utterly bewildered. I shook my head blankly. I didn't. What happened? Ronnie didn't speak further. He just looked at me fixedly for a moment, then grabbed his phone, swiped randomly, and threw it in front of me. Flustered, I picked up his phone. The screen showed a trending search page, and I was caught off guard, seeing words I never expected. Loading. Yan. Cheating. My hand trembled slightly, the unease in my heart growing stronger. I clicked on the top search result. The first thing that caught my eye was an extremely blurry photo. In the picture, it was my back and Yan's faint smile. Between us sat a pretty light green cake. Yan's hand was holding mine, as if saying something. No, it wasn't like this. I was horrified. That moment when he was reminiscing, he grabbed my hand abruptly, and I shook him off. But that single second was actually captured. I tried to explain, but even my explanations felt feeble. I looked at Ronnie, defending myself weakly. I did see him once, but this is just the media exaggerating. Ronnie, you Miss Chelsea, Ronnie interrupted me. He looked quietly into my eyes and gently pointed at the phone in my hand. Look at the second one. Yan releases new album. Puzzled, I clicked in and finally understood why netizens were so quick to claim Yan was cheating. The name of Yan's new album was Missing Summer. Has Miss Chelsea heard that song yet? Ronnie hung his head, never looking more defeated than now. He smiled self-deprecatingly. Miss Chelsea definitely hasn't had time to listen. But I have. He leaned over, took the phone from my hand, swiftly swiped a few times, and then a familiar melody slowly emanated from the phone. It was the song Ronnie had played for me. The song that had never been released before. The song Ronnie had painstakingly written, stolen by a thief and released prematurely. And this song's name was Missing Summer. I imagine my expression at that moment must have been utterly wretched. Miss Chelsea, Ronnie slowly closed his eyes. The familiar, pleasant melody echoed in the deathly silent room. He covered his eyes with his hand, seemingly in great pain. His voice carried a sob, the suppressed emotion almost bursting out. Yet he held it back because it was me. He called my name hoarsely, as if in utter despair. Miss Chelsea. I spent over 10 years writing this song. Every note, every melody, was written thinking of you. But Miss Chelsea, how could you be so cruel? I helplessly moved closer, trying to take his hand, shaking my head desperately. It wasn't me, Ronnie, really. It wasn't me, Miss Chelsea. The whole world knows you started as a model, never studied music. He couldn't remember a melody after hearing it just once, let alone transcribe it. He paused, just smiling. But Miss Chelsea, you studied music. Miss Chelsea, how can I believe you? I was speechless, a buzzing in my ears. I felt a fear I'd never known before, accompanied by anger expanding in my heart. I was so angry tears welled in my eyes. How could I not understand Ronnie's grievance? We are both creators, both on the production side of the artistic chain. Our work concerns honor and reputation. But even more, it concerns the heart. That was the young man's most hidden secret. In his heart, a song he only wanted to sing for me. But all the things he painstakingly created became someone else's achievement overnight. How could he possibly accept it? He was following us. He's been following us. Maybe he recorded it. Yes, he must have recorded it. I explained incoherently. I'll call him. Wait for me. Ronnie, believe me. Ronnie didn't speak, just leaned against the wall, with his eyes closed. After a very long time, he said very, very softly, Miss Chelsea, let me be alone for a while. I had never felt so panicked and helpless before. Not when Yan left. Not during the last argument with Ronnie. But now, as I pressed the dial button, my fingers couldn't stop trembling. It wasn't fear, but anger. Anger to the point of shaking, anger to the point of tears welling up, anger to the point of my heart pounding in fury. I felt sorry for Ronnie, and even sorrier for that song that had been so unjustly ruined. The call connected. Yan, I shouted, furious, you bloody Chelsea. A woman's gentle voice on the other end cut off all the curses I was about to spew. Chelsea, I've heard so much about you. I've been waiting for your call. The person on the phone chuckled lightly. I'm Mav. I suddenly realized. Yan wasn't that unscrupulous, at least. He wasn't before. But the person on the phone now was a different story. I gritted my teeth. Mav, I have no grudge against you. Indeed, she was still laughing. But right now, I'm afraid you must hate me to the core. But of course, I don't care. Yan and I won't separate over such a small matter, I scoffed, raising my voice almost to a scream. This is theft, plagiarism. Mav, I can sue you. What are you talking about? Mav sounded very pleased, her laughter unconcealed through the receiver. That song is one my fiancé Yan spent a long time writing. It's you, Chelsea, who repeatedly shamelessly seduced him, tricked a score out of him to blackmail us. I'm magnanimous. Not suing you is your good fortune. But if you try to blame us, don't blame me for not being polite. I gripped the phone tightly, my knuckles turning white. Those surging emotions churned wildly in my mind. But no matter how angry I was, I still felt utterly helpless in the end. They say the entertainment industry is messy, and now I see it's true. So there really are people who smear their own fiancé as cheating to gain heat and money. Mav, aren't you afraid this will damage your own reputation too? I said through gritted teeth. You know better than anyone that Yan and I have been over for a long time. Let me emphasize again. Chelsea, Mav's tone hardened considerably, but her attitude showed no hesitation. It's you who shamelessly seduced a man who's taken. Yan was the passive one, used by you to generate hype. You were using the traffic to help your little boyfriend become famous, and to boost your own competition in a few weeks. Yan is just the victim. As for the album name, it's reminiscing about the summer Yan and I met. What does that have to do with you, Chelsea? She clicked her tongue lightly. Chelsea, you're still too young. I clenched my fist tightly. Unbeknownst to me, tears had blurred my vision. I was so angry my body felt cold, never having felt so disgusted before. The curses swirling on my tongue finally condensed into one sentence. No one will believe it. Really? Mav scoffed. But as far as I know, my fiancé will soon issue a statement suing you for defamation and pursuing legal action. Although this matter could be settled privately, judging by your attitude, Chelsea, a public lawsuit seems better, don't you think? With that, a series of beeps came from the phone. Followed by silence, I stubbornly tried calling again, but it went to voicemail. When I called once more, it was switched off. Helpless, I collapsed onto the sofa, covering my eyes with my hand. Why? Why had it come to this in the entertainment industry? Turning white into black and black into white is a common tactic, and it seems that for anything, as long as you threaten legal action against the other party, you yourself are cleared of any wrongdoing. I just never thought that one day I would become the protagonist in such a drama. Ronnie was still in the room, silent, but I knew the environment at the Imperial Conservatory was relatively clean. They hadn't seen the dangers of society, nor had anyone taught them to keep archives, backups, and credit when writing songs. Those young kids lacked copyright awareness. Just seeing Ronnie in so much pain told me he had no solid evidence. But I wouldn't let him suffer this grievance because of me for nothing. Absolutely not. Half an hour later, Yen indeed released a statement. Below a simple Weibo post saying we are fine. No cheating was attached to legal notice. I saw my name on it. And 10 minutes later, my name shot up the trending search list, followed by 2 ugly words, the other mistress. Soon, my personal information was also dug up. I watched helplessly as people hurled abuse at all my work because of me, as collaborating models who wore my designs were criticized, and as my father's hard-earned reputation was insulted. I felt nothing but dazed. My phone dinged incessantly, aside from answering my parents' calls briefly to say it wasn't me and I was fine. I didn't want to deal with any other messages. What should I do? What could I do? I turned off my phone, dug out another phone I hadn't used for years, found Yara's number, and called her. I couldn't go out easily now, so I could only ask Yara to help me with these things. After briefly explaining the situation, I asked her to help me find the surveillance footage from the cafe that day, and from the practice room at the Imperial Conservatory. It was the only thing that could prove Ronnie and I were together. But Moab had been in the entertainment industry for years. How could she overlook these? I was mentally prepared. But when Yara soon told me those surveillance files were all missing for various reasons, I still leaned back on the sofa in despair, looking at a loss of the ceiling. This was a premeditated frame-up, and I had no evidence. I didn't dare look at my phone again. My mind was a mess. The night was deep, and I just stared at the ceiling, sleepless all night. As dawn approached, the bedroom door creaked open. I rubbed my stiff neck and slowly sat up straight, moving for the first time in hours. Ronnie stood at the door, his voice a bit dry. Miss Chelsea. I forced a relaxed smile at him. What's up? I turned and walked towards the kitchen, not daring to meet his eyes. Are you hungry? I'll make something to eat. I had only taken a few steps when Ronnie strode forward and hugged me tightly from behind. The boy's clean scent of laundry soap rushed into my nostrils, and I suddenly felt like crying again. He held me tightly, his arms around my waist, his chin resting affectionately on my shoulder. Miss Chelsea, I was wrong. He apologized softly. I shouldn't have doubted Miss Chelsea. Miss Chelsea isn't that kind of person. I gently touched the back of his hand. The young man's warm body pressed against my back seemed to warm my heart as well. I suppressed a sob. I'm the one who should be sorry. It's not Miss Chelsea's fault. Ronnie still held me, but this time he turned me around to face him, letting me bury my head in his embrace. Miss Chelsea and I are both just innocent. I could no longer hold back my grievances, but I also knew Ronnie's grievances were no less than mine. Burying my face in his shoulder, I sniffled and tears finally fell. It was because of me that Ronnie's song was stolen. If not for me, Yan would never have known about Ronnie, and Maev wouldn't have been able to follow the trail back to him. My tears soaked Ronnie's shoulder, but he didn't move. He just gently stroked my head and held me tighter. Miss Chelsea, actually, I lied to you. Ronnie held me and suddenly blurted out this seemingly random sentence. I slowly stopped crying, but the sudden halt made me hiccup very lightly. Ronnie chuckled softly. The first time I saw Miss Chelsea wasn't at the bar, but in that practice room. I was stunned and wanted to look at his eyes, but he held my head, preventing me, so I could only continue leaning against his chest and listen. Back then, Miss Chelsea was only 16, and I was 11. My dad was always busy and didn't care about me, so I could only hang out with my uncle. And my uncle was Wesley's student. It was also because of my uncle that I came to love music and got to see Miss Chelsea. Miss Chelsea was playing the piano in the practice room back then. You probably wouldn't remember a little kid like me, but from that moment on, I often found myself thinking about Miss Chelsea. Later, I realized that feeling was called-like, so I always pestered my uncle to go to the practice room. He taught you piano, and I would secretly watch from the side. Later, I got into the Imperial Conservatory, but Miss Chelsea never showed up again. Those 2 times at the bar weren't coincidences. You know, the patrons at 7 are all influential figures. That day, my uncle happened to be there. When he saw you, he called me. Miss Chelsea, my family didn't go bankrupt, and I have no debts. I saved all the money you gave me. I was the one who insisted on getting close to Miss Chelsea. I'm telling you this so you won't blame yourself. I was stunned, digesting this sudden influx of information, still somewhat dazed. And with his words, I inevitably thought of another person. Evan is my uncle. I lay stunned in Ronnie's embrace, never having expected this outcome. Evan, a leading figure in the music scene nowadays, my dad's most appreciated student. Someone with unclear ties to Yara, the person who taught me piano the most times. Someone I could even call a friend now, exchanging greetings on holidays. To think he was Ronnie's uncle. How foolish of me never to connect them. Even that day when Ronnie so deliberately took me to the practice room, I hadn't remembered. Miss Chelsea, Ronnie called my name with a light laugh. What love at first sight. It was all premeditated. A week later, Ronnie finally used his personal social media account to counter the public opinion that had fermented into abuse. That song took him 10 years. No matter how much Moev exaggerated Yan's creative journey behind the song, she wouldn't dare claim such a long time frame. After all, in her narrative, the song Missing Summer was written by Yan to commemorate their love. But how long had they known each other? Ronnie had no direct evidence. But all the unintentional traces he left behind, from countless scattered scores to recordings of him humming the tune on his phone, were the best proof of his creative copyright. He hadn't credited them, so they couldn't serve as legal evidence. But for public opinion, they were sufficient. If all the scores were from within the last 5 years, Mev could still twist the truth, claiming I stole them from Yan. But Yan and I had only known each other for a mere 5 years. Ronnie compiled those scattered pieces of evidence and posted them online. I used all my resources to push that Weibo post to the top. In just one day, the topic in plagiarism was trending at #1. Yan's number had long been disconnected, but I knew he would eventually call me because Moev would also eventually call me. But that proud woman wouldn't stoop to pleading. She would only have Yan use whatever sliver of past we had to downplay the matter. But it was absolutely impossible. Even if I were spat on and trampled by thousands, I would never yield on this matter. Perhaps Ronnie would consider my reputation. But if even I didn't care, no one could defeat us. Ronnie was more important than myself. Yan's voice was very hoarse. After I answered the call, aside from calling my name, Chelsea, he couldn't say anything else. I heard Moev's deliberately lowered, anxious urging in the background. But Yan remained silent for a long time. Ronnie sat beside me, watching me as if facing a great enemy, making me laugh involuntarily. Perhaps it was because of that laugh that Yan finally found an opportunity to speak. He called my name softly. Chelsea, I'm sorry. I didn't speak because Ronnie had already kissed me. I tried to push him away, but he refused, even biting my lip quite hard. Yan's voice continued on the phone, stammering and unclear. Chelsea, actually, I didn't want it to be like that. I struggled to push Ronnie away, steady my breathing, and then spoke coldly into the phone. Yan, I answered this call not to hear you say sorry. Chelsea, Yan's voice grew even hoarser. Don't call me that anymore, Yan. I gave a light laugh. Haven't you harmed me enough? You pester me, then turn around and accuse me of seducing you. What is it this time, if I'm not mistaken? Mev wants you to lure me out so someone can take pictures and continue fabricating stories out of thin air, right? Chelsea, Yan, when you left, I didn't hate you at all. I stated simply. Once again stopping Ronnie's wandering hands, I kept making excuses for you, saying it was your dream, and I had no right to stop you. Even when you came back, I didn't hate you. I just felt it was a pity and that I hadn't been worth it. But now, I really despise you. From the moment you laid hands on that song, the only possibility between you and me is being enemies. Yan seemed to panic. He started explaining urgently into the phone. Chelsea, it wasn't me. The sound on the other end became somewhat chaotic. I heard Yan's trembling voice. I wouldn't do that. Mev said someone wrote a song for me that day. I was unwilling to let go and followed you. But I left when I saw you hugging. I didn't hear the song. I thought it was just a song someone sold to me. Chelsea, Yan continued. Do you know, when I sang the song, all I could think of was you. That's why I gave it that name. After releasing it, I even wanted to call you and say the song was sung for you. I really didn't expect. He seemed very sincere. And from the receiver, I keenly picked up on the noisy sounds. I heard Moev's hysterical screams and the sound of a door being frantically beaten. Yan, in such an environment, seemed on the verge of breakdown, repeating over and over, Chelsea, don't hate me. I'm begging you, don't hate me. I took a deep breath, moved the phone's receiver slightly away from my ear. My eyes only looked at Ronnie, at this boy whose eyes were full of me, at the jealousy and unconcealed love in his gaze, and I answered Yan very seriously. Do you know why this song makes you think of me? I placed my hand in Ronnie's palm and smiled very, very lightly. Because the person who wrote the song also had my image in his mind all the time. Later, the matter concluded with an unexpected ending. By then, the finished garment was ready. Although my reputation hadn't been restored after the turmoil, Ronnie's copyright was recognized. I didn't want to waste any more time on those matters, nor did I care about others' opinions of me. I simply regarded it as a price paid for being blind and threw myself back into the competition with single-minded focus. That day, I was selecting the final runway model, but after reviewing over 20, not one could wear the garment with the effect I wanted. Just as I was growing frustrated, I received a call from Yara. Bloody hell. Chelsea, check Weibo now. Yan has had an awakening. Damn, go look, it's so satisfying. I told you fate was on your side, but you never believed me under her incessant urging. I bewilderedly opened my phone. This time, both my name and Yan's were followed by an explosive trend character, and what surprised me most was another name that suddenly appeared. Ronnie, loading, Daisley. I clicked on the trending search. At the very top was Yan's post. Some things I want to say. 18 screenshots of memos, all densely packed with text. I skimmed through them roughly. He had actually confessed everything, from our meeting and falling in love, to his drink-driving incident with Mav, to the song Missing Summer, and how Mav used his social media accounts to post false information. Besides the confession, there was an apology, and in the last memo image, he succinctly wrote that he would turn himself in, not wanting to deceive the public any longer, and especially not wanting someone named Chelsea to be wrongfully accused. She was never the other woman, and never will be. In that story, which is worth me remembering for the rest of my life, it was always me who failed her. I ask for nothing else, only wish her a lifetime of peace and joy. I let out a long sigh, unable to describe what I was feeling. That day on the phone, his breakdown and those words, "Don't hate me," I thought were the limit of what he could do. I never expected Yan could be even more ruthless. All the public opinion shifted direction, and it all happened to coincide with the day Ronnie released his song. He took the melody he had hummed for me, refined it, recomposed it according to his own ideas, and released the first song of his life, named after me. Yan used the last bit of his value in the form of traffic to give back to Ronnie and me, pushing this song to the top, and at the end of that song, after Ronnie's clean vocals faded within a gentle, clean melody, the lyrics contained a silent spoken line, written for those gentle summers and for you. After that incident, I picked a day to take Ronnie to meet my parents, but his familiar demeanor left me full of questions. I expected a scene of a shy young man greeting them bashfully. Instead, Ronnie, this guy, looked at my dad and called out loudly and clearly, "Dad." It left me utterly confused for a moment, not sure whose dad he was referring to. But my dad just chuckled and asked Ronnie a question I never anticipated. "Finally caught her, eh?" Ronnie nodded happily. "MHM. Thanks, Dad." I slowly turned my head, looked at Ronnie, then at my dad. The next second, I without hesitation pinched Ronnie's ear and dragged him all the way into my room. He pleaded, Miss Chelsea, stop, it hurts, Miss Chelsea, lighter, please." I was wrong. My dad was also chasing after us anxiously. "Boy, don't damage my son-in-law's ear." "You brat." I ignored them, only letting go after closing the door, pushing him against the wall with one hand. "Explain." Ronnie rubbed his ear pitifully. "Miss Chelsea, I was wrong, alright?" Seeing I was about to take action again, he laughed and teased, revealing the truth. "My uncle mentioned to Wesley that I liked you. I came to see your dad a long time ago. Otherwise, Miss Chelsea, how could the food I make suit your taste so perfectly?" He leaned close to my ear mischievously. "Miss Chelsea, our dad is really eager to marry you off to me." Then it dawned on me. No wonder he absolutely refused to let me accompany him to my dad's class that day. So these two had been in cahoots all along. Miss Chelsea, actually, Yara wasn't on it with me too. Otherwise, how could she have let you go home with a guy so easily? I looked at him, speechless for a long time. After a long silence, I smiled and called him silly. Then, I gently kissed his lips. His liking for me was premeditated, known to all Dot, and only I was kept in the dark, thinking it was all coincidence. As the competition day drew nearer, I grew more nervous. In the end, I decided to have Ronnie handle the final runaway presentation. He had no experience in this, so naturally, everything was very inexperienced. But that garment precisely required that rare sense of rawness. Moreover, the prototype was him, so only he could wear it with the essence I wanted. But something was still missing. Right up until the day of the competition, while we were backstage and he was nervously practicing in the garment, his hair slightly damp with sweat, watching the sunlight cast shadows on his face, I suddenly realized what was missing. I ran out of the venue as fast as I could, went to a florist, and bought a bunch of white bellflowers just before Ronnie stepped onto the runway. I broke off the cleanest one from the bunch, breathlessly, and gently placed it in the breast pocket of the garment. Clean, gentle, fresh, and eternal love. This was what I wanted. When I stood on the podium holding the trophy, the judges asked me about my design inspiration and theme. I fell silent for a long time, not knowing where to start. Down in the audience, Ronnie looked at me with bright eyes, a smile on his face. The bellflower on his chest trembled slightly with his heartbeat, its white petals pure and unblemished. Looking into his eyes, I remembered the song named Chelsea, and thought of a line from his lyrics. To bestow favoritism upon one person, exhaust the generosity of this lifetime. I lowered my head and smiled lightly. In my field of vision, I could still see the blooming bellflower. That is the inspiration. Her in Ronnie's eyes. The first time I saw her was in a practice room. The gentle summer breeze teased her hair. She sat before the piano, her fingers agile like dancing sprites, and a cold rendition of Croatian Rhapsody reached my ears from her fingertips. It was utterly mismatched with her pristine white dress, but at that age, I suddenly understood the meaning of fervor. When the piece ended, I was spellbound, hiding by the door, too timid to enter. I cautiously watched everything from the corner. However, the other person in the room noticed me and called out with a smile, "Ronnie's here. Come over to your uncle." Timidly, I walked over. Perhaps due to hormones, I deliberately emphasized my steps as I passed her, but she didn't even glance at me. Her gaze coolly swept over me and landed indifferently on my uncle. "I've played it 3 times. Can I go home now?" Go ahead. I'll tell Wesley you practiced properly." My uncle smiled, waving at her. "Be careful on your way." She made a sound of acknowledgement and vanished from my sight. I craned my neck to catch a glimpse, but only saw the flash of her white skirt. She is my uncle just smiled. Chelsea, the daughter of a quite famous professor at the Imperial Conservatory. I originally thought someone forced to learn piano by their parents couldn't learn well, but she's an exception. I gazed in the direction she left, silent for a long time before nodding with feigned maturity. Her name is really nice. I looked up at my uncle and said seriously, "It suits her." "You rascal. How old are you? What can you tell?" I didn't argue further, but what flashed through my mind was still that stunning moment of first sight. Chelsea. The name truly suited her. Summer should be passionate and unrestrained, yet she was unexpectedly gentle. Beneath her seemingly unassuming exterior lay a fervent heart, just like the Croatian Rhapsody, amidst the intense jumping notes. There was a subtle blend of tenderness. To call it like based on that one encounter alone was far from enough, but admittedly, that moment was too striking, leaving me unable to forget it for a long time. From then on, I loved going to the Imperial Conservatory to find my uncle. But perhaps it was fate. Every time I only managed to see her retreating back, never getting a chance to introduce myself. I'd come full of anticipation, only to return disappointed after many times. Even my uncle noticed something was off. He laughed and pinched my nose. "Are you really here to see me? Or someone else? What is like?" I didn't really understand back then, but the accelerated heartbeat couldn't lie. The first thing that came to mind when mentioning the word like was still her image. I could deceive myself, but not my uncle. He promised that if I became excellent enough, he could give me a push on this difficult path. I, too, am a demanding perfectionist. The moment I appeared before her had to be when I was at my best. But this delay dragged on until Ian appeared. That man barged into Chelsea's life unexpectedly. I had to admit he certainly had his appealing qualities, but I also had to face my own near-insane jealousy. That emotion rarely surfaced in me, but every moment, every minute, every second they were together, I was jealous to the point of madness. They were together for 2 years and I was depressed for 2 years. Fortunately, I was still lucky. Yan's departure made me pull myself together. It was only then I realized how deeply entrenched my feelings for her had become. My uncle kept his promise. His idea of a push was introducing me to the people closest to Chelsea, her father and her friend. I already knew Wesley, and knew he was Miss Chelsea's father. I was always active in class and listened attentively, leaving a good impression on him. When the elderly professor, past his prime, learned I liked Miss Chelsea, he smiled until his eyes crinkled, then treated me like a future son-in-law, telling me all about Miss Chelsea's habits and preferences since childhood. Clearly, I was more to the old man's liking than that Yan. Yara's involvement made my preparations more thorough, but when she mentioned that Chelsea's biggest hobby was looking at well-built handsome men, I frowned, feeling both sour and insecure. Perhaps I should be to her taste. They say opportunity favors the prepared. I had prepared for so long, just so her first glance at me would find me different. While it might not reach love at first sight, if she could be captivated by my looks, perhaps that was a good start too. Yara fabricated a breakup excuse with her boyfriend to drag Miss Chelsea to the bar. The alcohol flowed like water, but Yara was an old hand. Out of 10 drinks, she could secretly avoid 7. In the end, the one who got drunk was Miss Chelsea. Seizing the moment she went to the restroom, I asked Yara cautiously, and somewhat troubled, taking advantage of the situation. "Isn't that bad, is it?" Yara looked profound and patted my shoulder. "If there's a vulnerability to exploit and you don't, who will?" Makes sense. So I did. But the effects seemed excessively good. I never expected Miss Chelsea would try to strip me in public, and even boldly claim she wanted to keep me. She had me cornered. Encouraged by Yara, I uncontrollably nodded. But, isn't this a bit too fast? Although she had appeared in my dreams many nights, when it came to the real deal, I was still incredibly nervous. The first experience wasn't actually that great. She had no experience, and I had none either. But seeing her fondly stroking my abs, completely enamored, I felt it was still a success. I didn't dare indulge fully, afraid she might feel uncomfortable. But clearly, she didn't care, falling into a deep sleep immediately. I busied myself gathering her things, fed her hangover medicine and some water, before finally having a moment to call Yara. I was really afraid Miss Chelsea would deny everything. "Tomorrow," Yara giggled and said, "then just cling to her. Make her have to take responsibility." "Isn't that the way? How do I cling?" I stammered. "I see, can't exactly cry, make a scene, threaten suicide." Yara, still seemingly at the bar, casually threw me 3 reasons: family bankruptcy, heavy debts, and it's your first time. How dare Chelsea not take responsibility? Yara was indeed an experienced hand in love, seeing things very thoroughly. But even after I used the script, Miss Chelsea still didn't seem to want me. I couldn't find another reason. So I randomly made up not wanting to live in the dorms, hoping she'd have trouble finding a place for me, and would have to let me stay. But Chelsea was Chelsea. When she kicked me out, she was utterly merciless. It's fine. I comforted myself. There's still time. However, a few days later, rushing to the bar after a call from Yara, I saw an older man hitting on her. So irritating. I couldn't help but step in front of Miss Chelsea, even throwing a few dirty looks at the man. But for some reason, after just a few words with her, she without hesitation pounced on me. I didn't even have time to react before my lips were bitten, And then, once again, we ended up in bed. This was truly a novel and addictive experience. Afterwards, holding her waist, listening to her breathing and heartbeat, I just felt life could be so beautiful. This time, whether she was tasting the forbidden fruit or captivated by my looks, I had finally successfully stayed by her side. I moved into her room, could smell her scent every day, and she started treating me specially, showing me her sketches without reservation, supporting me at the live basketball game. Everything was slowly getting better. I finally had the chance to sing the song hidden in my heart to her. Everything was gradually progressing towards the state I most desired. But just then, Yin appeared again. That bastard. I don't know what he said to Miss Chelsea, but he had to show up on my birthday. When I opened the door for him, I was even holding a cake I'd specially made for Miss Chelsea, covered with pink cream hearts. Yin looked at me, at the cake in my hands, then at Chelsea supported in his arms, and curled his lips mockingly. That day, I, who never dared to question what our relationship was, finally uttered, word by word, a difficult decision made with great effort. Let's both cool off for a while. I was the one who made the decision, but I was also the one more reluctant to let go. During those days, I found all sorts of reasons to appear in front of her, but she stubbornly refused to look at me more. I knew she was busy, but I still wanted to be the most special one. Wanted her to put down her pen and look at me. Wanted to be her #1 priority. That period was probably the most agonizing. Just when I was almost about to give up, she finally appeared. I watched her gracefully walk over and sit beside me so naturally. Her breath, her scent, everything about her was once again within my reach. Fortunately, I had gambled right again, walking on the path in the middle of campus, the gentle summer breeze brushing past. I suddenly really wanted to kiss her, and I did. Those ambiguous secrets of the heart melted away in the wind. Actually, even if I never told her all this, it would be fine. But I couldn't resist taking her back to that practice room. She seemed to have forgotten meeting a shy boy there many years ago. But even if she doesn't remember, it's okay. The way we are now is the best. When Yin interfered again, I was humming a tune while preparing dinner for her. A sudden notification on my phone covered the recipe screen. On it, the words Yin cheating occupied my entire perception. I had always trusted Chelsea unconditionally, but when I clicked on that song, I still heard the sound of something shattering. It was my first composition, the song that carried my entire youth. It wasn't just a memento, it was more of a longing for all the beautiful futures with her. But that future also quietly shattered in Yen's song. I said harsh words to her. It was the first time since we'd known each other. I was so scared. I was afraid she would leave me, afraid she would take it for granted and tell me, it's okay, just write another one. Even more afraid she would choose to let me swallow this grievance for Yen's sake. But after thinking in the dark room for so long, I still couldn't bear to give up on her. But she didn't. I heard the arguing and cursing outside the room and saw her name on social media. Then, all my fear turned into heartache. When I walked out that door, the first thing she said was still to ask if I was hungry. I smiled, then smiled again and hugged her. I confess all the past deceptions. Those silent emotions slowly coalesced in the embrace, ultimately leaving only unchanging love. It's her. I thought. In this lifetime, no one will love her more than I do.